Tonight, we set aside the noise of modern life and drift into the warm, steamy haze of the Roman Empire. A world where the echoes of sandals, clicking on marble floors, mingle with the distant trickle of aqueducts, and the soft aroma of perfumed oil dances through the air. Close your eyes, adjust your pillow, and ease into the rhythm of another time. You are no ordinary citizen. Tonight, you are a bath attendant in the heart of ancient Rome, and your day is about to begin. Your morning starts before the sun even brushes the terracotta rooftops with its golden touch. The air is cool, still draped in shadows, but the bathhouse never sleeps. You rise from your modest bed, a straw-filled mattress that creaks beneath your back, and stretch with a quiet groan. The stone walls of your small quarters sigh with you, their surfaces cool to the touch after a night of silence. You dress in simple tunic and sandals, tying a cord around your waist with practiced ease. There are no mirrors here, no vanity to be entertained. Your hands are rough from years of work, fingers accustomed to the texture of pumice stones, the weight of water buckets, and the ever-present heat that clings to the very marrow of your bones. The first light of dawn filters through the narrow alleyways, casting elongated silhouettes of merchants beginning to stir, of cats stretching lazily on sun-warmed steps, and of your own figure heading towards the domus, balcony of the House of Baths, the grandest bathhouse in your district, a place of marble elegance and constant bustle, where the great and the humble alike come to cleanse body and mind as you approach. The first scent that greets you is the rising steam. The great furnace has been burning since the depths of the night, its fires tended by the stokers, who never sleep. The heat travels through the hypocaust, the hollow spaces beneath the floor, warming the rooms above with invisible fingers of warmth. You nod to the stokers, men with soot-streaked faces and tired eyes. Before stepping into the complex. Inside, the world transforms. The streets fall away, replaced by the soft murmurs of flowing water and the occasional hiss of steam escaping from cleverly hidden vents. You step onto smooth mosaic tiles, their patterns of dolphins and sea gods familiar to your feet. The walls are high, the ceilings echoing softly with the first drips of condensation. And your duty begins. Your hands move automatically, filling basins with warm water, adjusting the flow from the lead pipes that snake unseen through the walls, ensuring each chamber of the bathhouse holds the proper balance of heat and coolness. The frigidarium must remain crisp, invigorating. The caldarium must simmer like a gentle cauldron, the water thick with rising mist. And the perfect in-between. A room to soothe and cradle the muscles after the biting cold or the oppressive heat. With a practiced eye, you inspect the smooth stone benches, the reclining platforms where senators might sprawl later, discussing politics while servants anoint them with perfumed oils. You check the amphrey rows of them lining the walls, each filled with oil, lavender, rosemary, and exotic blends from distant provinces Egypt, Hispania, Gaul. As the sun finally crests the horizon, the first of the clients arrive. Traders, soldiers, freedmen seeking respite after long shifts. They shed their tunics with careless grace, stepping into the world of warmth you've crafted for them. You offer them a nod, a respectful greeting, knowing each face, knowing their preferences. Old Gaius prefers a hard scrub with rough cloth. Young Lucius, barely old enough to shave, requests gentle massages with almond oil. Pretending importance beyond his years, the morning swells with activity. The bathhouse hums like a living organism, each room breathing, each corridor whispering. Your muscles flex and strain as you carry pails, scrub backs, sweep water from marble floors. You are invisible, yet essential. Not a slave, but not a citizen of wealth, either. You dwell in that liminal space, the trusted attendant of those who wield more coin and power than you will ever touch. Yet there is pride in your work, pride in the gleam of the mosaics under your brush, pride in the precise temperature you maintain in the caldarium, pride in the satisfied sighs of patrons as they lean back against the smooth stone and let their worries melt away. Midday approaches, and with it, the arrival of nobility. Cloaks of fine wool, sandals with delicate straps, voices that command attention even in relaxation. You straighten your back, make your steps smoother, more silent. The nobleman named Marcus heavyset with a belly that shakes when he laughs, arrives with his entourage. His servant hands you a purse with a few coins extra, for discretion, for attentive service. Marcus prefers the caldarium first, and you guide him through the hot air, the walls damp with beads of condensation. You hand him a strigil, a curved instrument to scrape oil and sweat from his skin, but he waves it away. You will do it, of course. With steady strokes, you scrape the oil from his arms, his chest, his back, collecting it in a bronze basin, discarding it later with practiced ease. He talks of gladiators, of chariot races, of a new villa being built in the hills. You listen, nodding occasionally, saying little. You have learned, long ago, that bath attendants are not paid for opinions, only service. The cycle continues, from caldarium to tepidarium to frigidarium. The nobleman and his companions flow like water through the rooms, shedding cares, shedding sweat, gossiping of politics, of market prices, of whispered rumors from the Senate. You move like a shadow among them, unnoticed yet indispensable. In the late afternoon, when the sunlight angles sharply through high, narrow windows, the mood shifts, the bathhouse quiets, the wealthy drift away to their dinners, the commoners to their simple homes. You remain, attending to the baths themselves, to the slow cooling of the waters, to the gathering of used oils and discarded cloths. The day does not end when the last client leaves. The bathhouse must be restored, returned to its pristine state before dawn creeps over Rome again. You clean the alcoves where whispered secrets linger. You scrub the corners where steam still clings. You refill the amphorae. You stack fresh towels. Of course, Will, for the morning rush. The fires in the Prefernium are banked, but never fully extinguished. The bathhouse must always be ready, always welcoming. And in those quiet moments, when the corridors echo only with your footsteps, you allow yourself to dream. Of distant provinces you've heard patrons speak of grand feasts you will never taste, of chariot races you will never attend. You know your place, yet your mind roams free beyond the bathhouse walls. Evening settles. The streets outside, cooling rapidly, shadows deepening. You step outside for a brief moment, feeling the shift in the air, the dampness replaced by a dry evening breeze. The stars begin to prick the sky, distant, cold, eternal. You draw a slow breath, the scent of the baths clinging to your skin, oil and steam and human sweat. Tomorrow, the cycle will repeat. Tomorrow, you will rise before the sun. You will tend the fires. You will maintain the balance of hot and cold, of service and silence. But tonight, there is stillness, a rare, fleeting moment of calm. The streets murmur softly, the city settles into its nocturnal rhythm, and you are left standing beneath the ancient sky, a humble bath attendant in the grand, endless machinery of Rome. Yet, even within this simple life, there is rhythm, there is purpose, and perhaps there is quiet dignity. The baths will fill again, the voices will return, the steam will rise anew. And as you step back into the soothing warmth of the bathhouse, the heavy wooden door closing softly behind you, you prepare for what tomorrow will bring, unaware that within these marble walls, more than just bodies are cleansed. Secrets are kept, alliances formed, and the pulse of an empire quietly thrums. And in that moment, with one final glance at the sleeping fires, you let your tiredness wash over you, knowing while your story continues. The night deepens, quiet but never truly silent, for the city of Rome breathes even in slumber. The fires in the Prefernium mutter softly, like old men dozing by the hearth. Within the bathhouse, the air remains warm, laced with the fading sweetness of lavender oil and the faint echo of voices that lingered long after their owners departed. You move quietly, each footstep measured, mindful not to disturb the delicate stillness of the marble chambers. The mosaics beneath your feet are cool again, drained of the day's heat, their tiny colored stones still glinting faintly beneath the flickering lamplight. You carry your tools, brush, cloth, fresh water, intent on returning every corner of this grand structure to perfection. Your hands worn from years of service, work without thought. Muscle memory guides your motions as you scrub gently at a stubborn patch of oil near the caldarium benches. The stone sighs under your touch, releasing the residue of the day. There is comfort in the simplicity of it, in the soft scrape of brush. On stone, in the hiss of fresh water meeting marble, in the quiet labor that asks for no applause. Yet as you move through the quiet halls, your ears pick up the faintest disturbance, a whisper, a rustle, a muted shuffle of feet. You straighten slowly, your fingers tightening around the wooden handle of your brush. The bathhouse should be empty now, save for the stokers in the depths below. Patrons are long gone, their laughter replaced by the gentle crackle of cooling fires. But there it is again. Movement, deliberate and hushed. You step lightly, avoiding the sections of floor where water pools would betray your presence with a careless splash. The sound leads you towards the frigidarium, the room of icy waters, where only moments before you had finished sweeping the last remnants of footfall from the floor. There, in the pale glow of a single oil lamp, you see them, two figures, cloaked in dark wool, their hoods drawn low over their faces. One stands guard near the door, while the other bends over the benches, carefully removing a section of the wall paneling you had always assumed was simply decorative. Your heart quickens, but your breath remains steady. You've been in Rome long enough to know the ways of men. This is not the first time the bathhouse has been used for matters beyond relaxation. Beneath the polished marble lies an older rhythm, one of secrets and shadows. You step back, unnoticed, pressing your back against the smooth wall, letting the coolness seep through your thin tunic. You could call for the stokers, but they are distant, hidden within the furnace chambers. You could flee into the street, but curiosity roots you to the spot. This is your bathhouse, your sanctuary, and though your place in this world is lowly, your instinct whispers that something important is unfolding within these familiar walls. The cloaked figures murmur softly, voices too low for words to carry, but their urgency is clear. A small object emerges from within the hidden cavity, and the wall, a scroll, bound in dark leather, sealed with a symbol you do not recognize. The taller of the two figures cradles it reverently, slipping it beneath his cloak before replacing the panel with the care of a craftsman. And then, as silently as they came, they disappear, their sandals whispering across the stone floor, leaving behind no trace but the lingering scent of damp wool. You wait until their footsteps fade entirely before you move again. Stepping forward into the quiet chamber, your fingers graze the edges of the newly replaced panel, feeling the warmth of their recent touch, the faint tremor of adrenaline still coursing through your veins. There is much you do not know: who these men were, what message they carried, what power it might wield beyond the bathhouse walls. But you understand enough. This place, your place of humble labor, holds more than weary bodies and whispered gossip. Beneath the surface, currents shift and swirl, currents of ambition, of politics, of quiet rebellion perhaps. Yet as the last embers in the furnaces dwindle, as the lamps begin to sputter and die, you return to your duties. You finish scrubbing the stones, you set the amphory in order, you sweep away the evidence of footsteps, until the bathhouse gleams once more beneath the sleepy glow of the remaining lamps. Dawn comes quietly, painting the sky in soft hues of pink and amber. You do not speak of the cloaked figures. You greet the stokers with your usual nod. You prepare the chambers as always. And when the first of the patrons returns, you are there, steady and calm. The attentive shadow within the steam-filled halls, the bathhouse resumes its rhythm, as though nothing has changed, though you now walk its corridors with a new awareness. An understanding that even within marble and water, power weaves itself unseen. By mid-morning, the baths are alive again with voices, footsteps, splashing water, and the gentle clatter of strigils against bronze basins. You attend to the usual faces: Gaius, Lucius, the portly Marcus, who arrives as predictably as the rising sun. You serve them with the same quiet efficiency, your hands practiced, your expression unreadable. But today, you listen more carefully. You catch the names murmured during idle conversation. You observe the glances exchanged between merchants, the nervous laughter of men who clutch their cloaks too tightly, and the subtle caution in their voices when certain senators are mentioned. During the midday lull, you slip away from the bustling main chambers and make your way to the secluded corners of the tepidarium. There, hidden beneath an inconspicuous bench, you find another panel, similar to the one you witnessed the previous night. With a careful hand, you trace its outline, testing its edges. It remains shut, locked away from curious hands like yours, yet the knowledge of its presence fills you with quiet wonder. You are a simple bath attendant, a servant in the grand machinery of Rome. Yet, in the quiet hours between dusk and dawn, you are witness to the hidden pulse of the empire, the soft whispers that guide its course as the afternoon fades. A different figure arrives, a woman, uncommon in these halls. She steps lightly, draped in fine linen, her hair pinned with ivory. Combs her gaze is sharp, more accustomed to commanding than requesting. You greet her politely, guiding her to the heated chambers, offering her the finest oils. She speaks little, though her eyes linger on the hidden corners, on the servants who pass by, on the narrow corridors where secrets might dwell. You attend to her carefully, aware that in Rome, every glance carries weight, every silence a story. She leaves as silently as she arrived, leaving behind only a faint trace of rose oil and unspoken intentions. You watch her go, curiosity tugging at the corners of your mind. But your place is here, within these walls, within this rhythm. Evening returns, the sun dipping low behind the rooftops, casting long shadows across the city. The bathhouse empties. Gradually, patrons trickling away towards dinners and evening entertainments. You begin your quiet ritual once more, cleaning, restoring, tending to the silent chambers as the fires in the furnaces settle into their steady slumber. Yet tonight, as you move through the echoing corridors, you are not alone. Another attendant, young Cassius with eager eyes and quick hands, approaches you, his steps unusually hesitant. He glances around before speaking, his voice a whisper meant only for your ears. "You saw them last night, didn't you?" he asks, eyes flickering towards the frigidarium. You meet his gaze, saying nothing, though your silence speaks volumes. Cassius leans closer, his voice barely audible above the distant crackle of embers. They come often, not always the same ones, but always cloaked, always with scrolls or messages. There's something beneath this place, something they guard, or perhaps something they hide. The words settle heavily between you, thick, with implication. You, a humble servant, drawn into a world you had only glimpsed from afar, a world of secrets, of power, of unseen hands pulling at the threads of the empire. Yet you nod slowly, accepting this strange new layer of your daily existence. The bathhouse, with its polished marble and steaming waters, is more than a sanctuary for weary bodies. It is a quiet stage where silent players perform their hidden roles, where secrets flow more freely than water. Night enfolds the city, the stars scattered once more across the Roman sky. The baths lie quiet, the fires banked, the chambers restored to their pristine silence. You rest your hands upon the smooth stone walls, feeling their ancient solidity beneath your fingertips, and you wonder how many others, through the decades, had walked these same corridors, carrying their own secrets, listening to their own whispers. Tomorrow, you will rise again before the dawn. You will tend to the waters, you will scrub the benches and serve the patrons with steady hands. Yet beneath the rhythm of routine, you will listen, you will watch, and you will learn. And as you close the heavy wooden doors for the night, the quiet click of the latch sealing the world outside, you know your place is no longer as simple as it once was. Because within these walls, beneath the steam and oil, something stirs, and your story continues. The following dawn arrives gently, diffused through a veil of low-hanging clouds that muffle the sounds of the waking city. Rome stretches itself awake beyond the bathhouse walls, but within, the ancient chambers remain hushed, the air still, heavy with the mingled scent of warm stone, faint oils, and the last whispers of flickering lamps. You rise with the quiet discipline carved into you by years of habit. The sleep clings to your shoulders like a thin mist, but your hands already know their work. You sweep the entrance in long, steady strokes, gather water from the communal well before the streets stir too much, and prepare the oil flasks with practiced ease. Yet beneath every action, your thoughts linger elsewhere, on shadowed corners, hidden panels, and murmured words you were never meant to hear. On the stolen glance from Cassius the night before, and the quiet understanding that passed between you without need for speech today. You tell yourself, "We'll be like any other." Yet, even as the thought takes shape, you know it is not true. The bathhouse breathes differently now. The marble beneath your feet hums faintly with a hidden life that only reveals itself to those who listen closely. Before long, the first customers arrive, early merchants hoping to soothe sore muscles before another day of counting coins and negotiating freight. You serve them as you always do, lightly, attentively, invisible in your efficiency. But you listen more carefully now. You note the names spoken, the trade routes discussed, the half-whispered mentions of senators rising and falling in the shifting tides of Roman power. You overhear talk of the grain shortage, of the new levies in distant provinces, of ships delayed by storms off Sicily. To most attendants, it is idle conversation. To you, it is another piece of a larger puzzle you have only just begun to glimpse. As the morning deepens, the more prestigious clients filter in, wealthy citizens draped in imported fabrics, their sandals polished, their mannerisms honed through generations of privilege. You bow, you fetch towels, you replenish oils, your role unchanged on the surface. But when the tall man with the distinctive scar over his left eyebrow enters, your heart quickens. You've seen him before, not as a bather, but as one of the cloaked figures who had vanished through the frigidarium's secret panel. He says little, requesting warm water and the stronger scented oil from the eastern provinces. You serve him, without hesitation, your face calm, your hands steady, but your senses sharpen. He settles into the corner bench, steam curling lazily around his shoulders, muscles loosening in the heat. Minutes later, another man joins him, a senator by the look of his ring. Though his eyes shift too often, his voice lowers too quickly when others pass nearby. Their conversation is muffled by the rhythmic dripping of condensation from the stone ceiling. But you catch fragments as you move about the chamber, pretending to tidy the water basins. The message reached Capua before the sentries knew. 2 nights ago, secured beneath the old benches, untouched for decades. The prefect suspects nothing, yet their words carry weight far beyond their tone. You tuck the knowledge carefully away, your expression never wavering. When they leave, you scrub the very bench where they sat, leaving no trace of their presence, except in memory. By midday, the bathhouse fills with its usual chorus of voices, laughter, and splashes. The rhythmic clatter of strigils echoes in the hot rooms, blending with the comforting drone of men, recounting mundane victories and trivial complaints. You move among them all, an unnoticed shadow in the grandeur of marble and steam, watching, listening, learning. The day unfolds like a scroll, unrolling before you each hour a new line. Each patron a word, some important, others less so, but all contributing to the larger story hidden beneath the surface. When the sun lowers and the crowds thin, you slip away, climbing the worn staircase that leads to the higher chambers where the older walls remain, untouched by the renovations of recent decades. Here, the air smells of age dust, old plaster, forgotten secrets. Cassius waits for you in the narrow corridor, his lean frame pressed close to the wall, his eyes wary but determined. Without words, you follow him along the passage, past the faded murals of forgotten emperors, towards the storage alcove, where surplus amphorae gather dust beside broken basins. There, with a glance over his shoulder to ensure your solitude, Cassius kneels, pressing his fingers along the base of the wall. A faint click answers his touch, and a narrow section of stone shifts inward, revealing a cramped tunnel barely wide enough for a grown man to crawl through. You hesitate only briefly before entering, the stone cold beneath your palms, the silence pressing close around you like a cloak. The tunnel slopes downward, the air growing cooler with each careful movement, until it opens into a hidden chamber, carved roughly from the bedrock beneath the bathhouse. Oil lamps line shallow alcoves, their flames low but steady, revealing more than just old stone. Scrolls, bound parchments, and clay tablets fill wooden shelves along the walls. Strange symbols adorn their binding seals of private alliances, marks of secret correspondence. Records never meant to see the light above. Cassius speaks quietly, his voice steady but tense. The bathhouse is more than we ever imagined. Messages pass through here, alliances formed, betrayals plotted, hidden in the least suspected place beneath the empire's very heart. Your gaze drifts over the ancient documents, your mind swimming in questions. How long had this network existed? Who controlled it? How deeply did these secrets thread through the fabric of Roman life? Cassius guides you through the chamber, showing hidden exits that lead towards the Subura, escape routes carved centuries ago during the unrest of older reigns. He shows where messages are deposited, where trusted hands retrieve them, where the rhythm of marble and water cloaks the silent work of those who navigate the veins of power unseen. By the time you ascend back into the bathhouse, the lamps above have dimmed, the final patrons drifting homeward, leaving only echoes and the gentle hiss of dying embers. You part ways with Cassius without ceremony, each of you returning to your duties as though nothing had changed. But in truth, everything had. That evening, as you wipe down the benches, you ponder the strange balance of your world. Above, the bustling life of Rome continues, merchants haggling, senators plotting, soldiers training, children laughing in alleyways. But below, beneath the polished surfaces and soothing waters, secrets pulse like a hidden current, tugging at the foundations of power. You wonder how many others in the city live unaware, thinking themselves mere cogs in the machinery of empire, never knowing the corridors that snake beneath their feet, the whispers exchanged beneath their very homes. Night folds over Rome once more, stars peeking through the shifting clouds, the distant songs of taverns mingling with the occasional bark of a stray dog in the alleyways. You close the great doors of the bathhouse, bolting them shut with quiet satisfaction. You do not consider yourself important. You are but a servant, a bath attendant tasked with simple duties. Yet now, you carry knowledge as valuable as gold, understanding as sharp as any blade. You walk the same corridors, perform the same tasks, but every corner, every quiet alcove, holds new meaning. You glance once towards the frigidarium's hidden panel, before moving towards the rear entrance, locking the smaller doors for the night. Your path takes you past the furnaces, where the stokers rest, past the water basins cooling in the night air, past the silent grandeur of the caldarium and tepidarium. You pause beneath the high-vaulted ceiling of the main hall, listening to the faint creak of wood settling, the last dying pops of the furnace fires, the distant, comforting murmur of water trickling through ancient pipes above you. Rome slumbers in its restless way, shifting in dreams, both personal and political. But here, beneath layers of stone, amidst the gentle perfume of oils and herbs, the hidden life of the empire pulses on steady, unseen, enduring. Tomorrow will bring new faces, fresh stories, and perhaps more secrets. You will rise before the dawn. You will scrub the benches until they gleam. You will smile and bow and serve as you always have. But beneath it all, you will be watching. Because in these halls, beneath these stones, you have found more than work. You have found purpose. You close your eyes briefly, allowing the quiet rhythm of the bathhouse to lull your mind. Outside, Rome's heartbeat slows for the night, but yours carries on steady and calm, ready to witness whatever new whispers tomorrow might bring. And in that quiet, polished world of marble and shadow, your story continues. Morning slides gently across the rooftops of Rome, brushing the terracotta tiles with pale gold. The city wakes in slow waves, merchants lifting shutters, bakeries breathing fresh bread into narrow streets, and distant horns calling soldiers to drill. But inside the bathhouse, the world remains unchanged, quiet, steady, wrapped in the soft sigh of rising steam and the echo of footsteps across marble floors. You wake before the dawn, as always, the rhythm of duty stitched into your bones. You cross the empty corridors with a practiced grace, opening doors, stirring embers, fetching water before the first clients arrive. Every movement is familiar, every motion unhurried. Yet beneath it all, the echoes of last night ripple through your chest, secrets hidden beneath stone, whispers trapped within walls, and a network of messages threading through the veins of the city. Your hands know their duties, but your eyes watch more closely now, tracing the silent paths others overlook, as the sunlight filters lazily through high windows. The first bathers appear, wealthy merchants, elderly senators, their minds focused on aching backs and social gossip. You bow, you serve, you listen. They talk of grain shortages, of distant campaigns, of festivals delayed by the Senate's endless debates. Most see you as nothing more than a shadow gliding past, a polite presence blending into the background. But your ears capture every word, filing each careless comment into the growing puzzle forming in your mind. By mid-morning, the bathhouse hums with life. Steam thickens the air, muffling voices, softening footsteps. The tepidarium fills with the slow chatter of men reliving past glories. The caldarium rings with the metallic scrape of strigils against skin. You move among them, replenishing oils, folding linen towels, offering quiet assistance. And then you see him. A young man, unfamiliar, dressed in robes, finer than his age suggests. His stride carries the confidence of noble birth, but his eyes flicker, watchful, unsettled. He pauses near the frigidarium, fingers trailing lightly across the smooth marble, gaze lingering longer than necessary on the intricate mosaics. You observe from the periphery, careful, patient. Later, when he settles in the warm baths, you pass by with a fresh pitcher of water, and you hear his quiet conversation with another bather. Words slipped beneath the surface of idle talk. Ember, passage. Third brazier, after sunset. The signal changes tonight. Your heart stirs, but your face remains still, your posture neutral. You finish your rounds, collect used towels, pour fresh water, and retreat to the quieter corridors behind. The main chambers, CASSIUS, awaits in the shadowed alcove. His tunic damp from morning chores, his expression sharp with curiosity. You recount what you heard, voiced low and measured. At the mention of the Ember Passage, his brow furrows. It's one of the old furnace corridors, he murmurs. Forgotten. After the last renovations, if they're moving through it, they trust no one above. The two of you make your plan with outspoken agreement. Tonight, after the bathhouse doors close and the final bather wanders home, you will follow the Ember Path. You will learn who walks these forgotten halls and why their secrets cling to the heart of the Empire. The day unfolds in slow, steady rhythm. You serve, you listen, you smile where expected, but your mind dances ahead, already mapping the underground corridors. Every visitor becomes a thread, every careless remark a puzzle piece. An older senator complains of delayed grain ships, perhaps diverted to secretive causes. A merchant boasts of contracts secured without Senate approval, perhaps greased by the silent hand of the hidden network. Each small revelation builds upon the last, constructing a vision of power moving beneath Rome's polished marble. When evening comes, and the final bathers bid their farewells, you carry out your closing tasks with a quiet urgency. You douse the fires in the upper chambers, bolt the main doors, and sweep the corridors with slow, measured steps. Cassius mirrors you, his own duties completed in record time. His movements smooth, his posture relaxed, but his eyes sharp. Together, you descend beyond the storage alcoves, past the dust-laden jars and forgotten statues, towards the lower chambers, where the warmth lingers heavy in the air. The Ember Passage waits an ancient corridor built to feed heat through the bathhouse, abandoned when newer furnaces were added. You find the entrance near the third brazier, just as the whispered instructions said. A narrow gap between crumbling stones, partially concealed by stacked amphorae, cool air seeping from its depths. Cassius slips through first, his lean frame vanishing into the shadows. And you follow, heart steady, senses heightened. The passage winds beneath the bathhouse, like a sleeping serpent. The walls drip with condensation, ancient bricks slick beneath your fingers. Small oil lamps rest in shallow alcoves, their flames weak but steady, marking a path seldom walked. The air vibrates with the low hum of distant water, the faint crackle of dying embers in the higher furnaces. You press forward, careful with each step, following the flicker of Cassius's lamp ahead. The corridor narrows, then opens unexpectedly into a larger chamber, carved roughly from the bedrock. Faded murals stretch across cracked wall scenes of forgotten gods, long erased by time and smoke, and within this hidden chamber, they gather. 4 men stand near a worn stone table, scrolls unfurled, clay tablets stacked beside ink-stained hands. You recognize none by face, but their voices carry the weight of authority tones, sharpened by years of command, of decisions made behind closed doors. The prefect remains blind. Grain rerouted through Ostia, shipments arriving by the 7th moon, one man says, his hand tracing a map carved into the table's surface. Funds secured through the temple tithes. The priesthood remains complacent, another replies, sealing a scroll with practiced ease.cassis, leans close, his breath steady despite the revelation. These are not petty schemers. These are orchestrators of the Empire's silent currents, moving resources, shifting loyalties, directing power without Senate approval, without public knowledge. The conversation continues, each sentence revealing more planes for the Eastern campaigns, names of allies within the military, movements of gold hidden beneath charitable offerings. You listen, each word, a new thread binding you tighter to a truth, too large to ignore. Then, at a signal from their leader, a tall figure, with a distinctive silver band upon his wrist, they extinguish the lamps one by one. Footsteps retreat, down a different passage, vanishing into Rome's hidden arteries. Cassis touches your arm lightly. We must leave. We know enough for tonight. The return journey feels longer, heavier. Every step upwards through the ember passageways, with the burden of new knowledge. When you emerge within the bathhouse once more, the air feels cleaner. The familiar sense of oil and warm stone grounding you in the ordinary world above. You part ways with Cassius without words, retreating to your modest quarters. The night outside is cool, the stars hidden behind drifting clouds, the city resting in its restless slumber. But within you, a storm churns questions of loyalty, of duty, of what role you now play in this intricate web. Sleep eludes you. You sit by the small window of your chamber, listening to the distant murmur of Rome's nocturnal life. The clatter of hooves on stone, the occasional laughter from a tavern, the low hymn of a night watchman walking his circuit. Above, the stars remain concealed, but you imagine them watching, indifferent to the struggles unfolding below. You wonder how long this hidden network has pulsed beneath the Empire. Decades, centuries, how many bath attendants, servants, slaves, and merchants passed by unaware, their lives grazing the surface, while great tides shifted beneath their feet. Your life had been simple: scrub the marble, pour the oils, serve without question. But now, you stand at a crossroads where silence feels like betrayal and knowledge weighs heavier than chains. As dawn edges into the sky, your thoughts settle into a quiet resolve. Tomorrow you will rise, as always, perform your duties as always, smile and bow as always. But beneath it all, you will watch with new eyes. Because secrets do not sleep, and shadows do not rest. And in the great heart of Rome, beneath the polished marble and soothing waters, your journey is only beginning. You glance once more to the horizon, where night slowly yields to day, and you wonder how many others wake with the same quiet fire in their chest, the same sense of purpose flickering to life. The bathhouse awaits, the city stirs, and you are ready to walk the delicate line between servant and seeker, ready to witness the hidden currents shaping the fate of the Empire, ready for whatever tomorrow brings. Because here, beneath the heart of ancient Rome, your story continues, and the marble remembers everything. The sun returns to Rome, spreading warmth across familiar stones, gilding the towering columns and ancient roofs. From your narrow window, the city appears unchanged, its chaos muffled beneath the steady hum of awakening life. Yet as you rise from restless sleep, you carry the quiet knowledge of what lies beneath, the hidden passages, the secret gatherings, the quiet manipulations threading through the veins of the Empire. Your feet find the same cold floor. Your hands follow the same morning rituals, but your eyes linger longer on the corners where shadows rest. You dress in your simple tunic, tighten your belt, and step into the world you have always known. Only now, every sound feels sharper, every conversation laced with possibilities. In the bathhouse, steam curls lazily from the heating pools, the air scented with lavender oils and damp stone. You move along the mosaic floors, preparing for another day of service, another day of silence. Yet beneath your practiced motions, you listen, always listening. Cassius appears by your side, carrying fresh towels. His face the picture of calm, but his brief glance speaks volumes. You exchange no words, none are needed. There is no plan yet, no grand design, only understanding, shared and unspoken. The first patrons arrive, their sandals clicking lightly across marble. A merchant eager to wash away travel's dust. A miner, noble complaining of aching joints. You greet them, assist them, refill their water basins, your movements as smooth and practiced as ever. But your thoughts drift downward, beneath your feet, to the ember passage and the whispers it holds. Mid-morning brings a change. A procession approaches elevated voices. Polished boots on stone, the flutter of fine fabrics. A visitor of higher. Standing today, you stand straighter. Adjust your tunic, ready yourself. The bathhouse may serve the common man, but now and then, the currents of Rome send more powerful figures drifting through its chambers. The guest enters, flanked by attendants tall, lean clad in muted colors, but unmistakably men of rank. The centerpiece is a patrician you recognize from whispered stories, but have never seen in Persangius Priscus. A senator known for his ambition, rarely seen among the people. Often rumored to dine more with generals than with fellow senators. You observe discreetly from your corner as he sheds his outer cloak. His sandals, stepping into the baths as if the marble itself belongs to him. His voice commands without rising. His gestures subtle, but obeyed without question. Cassius sidles closer under the pretense of carrying extra oils. Curious, he murmurs beneath his breath. A man who prefers private villas and exclusive gatherings, now mingling in the public halls. You nod imperceptibly, gathering warm towels. Noting the careful positioning of the senator's guards, the way his gaze lingers on certain corners of the room, measuring, assessing. Not the actions of a man here for relaxation, but of one surveying, perhaps sending signals of his own. As the day flows forward, so too does your quiet observation. You drift near when Gaius Priscus converses softly with his attendants, picking up fragments mention of delayed shipments from the east, veiled complaints about the prefect's decisions, fleeting references to troop movements along the northern roads. His words are veiled, careful, but not enough to slip past attentive ears. Later, when he departs, his servants in tow, you and Cassius trade quiet glances. The ripples beneath the surface of Rome are growing, the patterns shifting. Power is moving, and not always in ways the Senate intends. By afternoon, the bathhouse returns to its usual rhythm. You scrub the stones, refill the basins, tend to the lesser patrons who come and go with simple needs. Yet every so often, you pause, listening to distant footsteps, wondering how many others pass unknowingly above the ember passage, unaware of the schemes unfolding beneath their feet. Evening descends, warm and gentle, casting long shadows across the baths. As you close the doors, extinguish the outer torches, and tidy the changing chambers, Cassius lingers nearby. His voice breaks, the quiet hum of flowing water. I followed one of the attendants, he says, voice low, after they left. They diverted south, toward the river, not to the senatorial district. You raise an eyebrow, carrying messages. Cassius nods, or orders, maybe even payments. The day has ended, but your thoughts remain restless. The night before was a discovery. Tonight feels like a warning. The more you observe, the more the web reveals itself, far-reaching and perilous back in your modest chamber. You lean against the cool stone wall, staring out into the Roman night. The stars are clearer tonight, sharp against the velvet sky, distant and indifferent. You wonder if any of them bear witness to the silent machinations unfolding below. The empire stretches endlessly its borders, guarded by legions, its wealth flowing through harbors and markets, its fate debated in the marble halls of senators. Yet the true power pulses unseen, in passages unmarked, in conversations hidden by steam, in alliances whispered between oil-slicked walls. And you, a mere servant, stand closer to these secrets than most ever will. Sleep comes slowly, your mind, unwilling to release its grip on the questions rising within you. Who commands these hidden currents? For what purpose do they reroute grain, sway legions, manipulate temple funds? What futures are being decided in the hollow chambers beneath Rome? When morning arrives once more, you rise with the same practiced grace, your body following old routines, while your mind steps deeper into new paths. Today brings a festival, a day when the bathhouse swells beyond capacity, When the streets teem with laughter, celebration, and subtle tension, you prepare accordingly, filling extra basins, stacking fresh linens, preparing oils laced with rose and citrus. By mid-morning, the bathhouse buzzes with life. Patricians mingle with wealthy merchants, freedmen gather in the cooler chambers. News flows like water, some of it trivial, some of it dangerously revealing. A wine trader boasts loudly about shipments secured through back channels, naming ports you know to be part of the hidden network's route. A minor official grumbles about temple offerings decreasing, while certain senators' estates seem to expand with new marble additions. Another bather laughs about a centurion reassigned after overhearing the wrong conversation in the wrong tavern. Each comment is a thread, and you, invisible among them, quietly weave them together. Later in the day, amidst the swelling crowd, your attention catches on a different figure. A woman cloaked in merchant garb, her presence subtle yet deliberate, her movements practiced. She speaks briefly with one of the senior attendants, passes a token, small bronze, with a carved symbol you recognize faintly from old bathhouse markings near the Ember Passage. Cassius stands nearby, his posture casual, but his focus mirrors yours. You both understand. Another message delivered. Another piece moved upon the board beneath the Empire's surface. The festival rages beyond the bathhouse walls. Music echoing through the streets, laughter rising like mist into the evening air. Inside, the crowd thins as the wealthier patrons retreat to private feasts. The servants return to their homes, and the last of the bathers drift into the cooling night. You and Cassius close the doors, dampen the last of the embers, and retreat to the quieter chambers where shadows stretch longer. Tonight, you descend once more, not through curiosity this time, but through purpose. The Ember Passage awaits, but this time you seek not only to listen, but to see, to follow, to understand who orchestrates these movements from the shadows. As you tread carefully beneath ancient stone, your lamps glow, painting flickering shapes across the walls. Your heart remains steady. You are no longer merely a servant of the baths. You are a witness to Rome's concealed heartbeat, a silent observer of the invisible currents shaping history. In the depths, you know answers wait, dangerous, tangled, powerful. But you are ready. Ready to walk the path carved by secrets. Ready to listen to the echoes beneath the marble. Ready to uncover the truth, buried in the warmth of the baths and the cold of forgotten corridors. For in the great machine of empire, even the smallest cog may turn the grandest wheel, and you, unnoticed, quiet, patient, may yet become the whisper that shifts the course of Rome itself. The Ember Passage breathes before you, and the night hums with promise. Your journey continues. Dawn arrives in silence, painting the rooftops of Rome with soft amber light. From the high walls of the city, the distant hills seem almost peaceful, their green slopes unbothered by the quiet tensions simmering below. You rise as you always do, your body moved by rhythm, by habit, by duty. Yet your thoughts move elsewhere, sinking below the polished marble floors, beneath the warmth of steam, to the cool stone corridors, where hidden truths wait like patient ghosts. The morning ritual unfolds like a song you've long memorized. You stoke the fires, prepare the oils, straighten the linen stacks. Cassius moves beside you, each gesture calm, each step measured. But your glances meet in brief flickers, your thoughts tethered to the memory of last night, to the hollow sound of footsteps echoing through the Ember Passage, to the shrouded figures moving like shadows beneath the city's ancient stones. The bathhouse opens its doors to the world above, welcoming senators with weary joints, merchants carrying stories of distant lands, and soldiers seeking relief from endless drills. The world above is alive with routine, with ceremony, with the illusion of order. Yet beneath it, the city pulses with hidden rhythm, and you have begun to hear its beat. Today, there is a change in the air. You sense it in the tension curling through the voices of visiting nobles, in the hurried steps of servants carrying sealed messages, in the rare presence of certain faces not often seen in the common halls. A minor official with ink-stained fingers mutters about grain shipments delayed once more. A well-dressed trader whispers to his companion of an estate seized overnight. The owner vanished without explanation. Another bather grumbles that several senators have retreated beyond the river, their estates shuttered, their guards doubled, pieces shifting on an unseen board. And within it all, you glide unnoticed, listening, learning, piecing together the shape of something far larger than any single man or decree. Midday brings the arrival of another elderly senator, known more for his silence than his speeches. His name barely murmured in public discourse. Yet here he is, descending into the baths, his entourage reduced to one quiet aide, his expression unreadable. Cassius notes his arrival with a glance, his hand steady as he pours perfumed oils into the caldarium basin. The senator does not speak, often, but when he does, his words are carefully chosen. You hover near as he exchanges pleasantries with another bather, your ears sharpening when the conversation drifts toward matters far from idle, movements confirmed along the Appian routes, additional funds redirected through temple collections. Only a matter of weeks now. Cassius leans forward slightly, polishing a nearby basin with slow, deliberate strokes. You pass with fresh water, your head bowed, your steps soundless. The conversation continues, the senator's tone light, but his words sharp, slicing through the calm surface of daily life to reveal the turbulence beneath. By evening, the crowd thins, the halls grow quieter, and you and Cassius return to the routines that conceal your true intentions, cleaning the last traces of the day's visitors, extinguishing the smaller fires, bolting the outer doors. But tonight, you do not ascend to your chambers. Tonight, you descend again, beyond the known corridors, beneath the familiar walls, following the pulse of the ember passage deeper into the bones of the city. The narrow halls greet you like old friends. The walls cool beneath your fingertips, the air thick with moisture and forgotten history. Your lamp burns low, casting a soft halo around you, just enough to navigate the twists and turns, without revealing yourselves to distant watchers. Tonight, your path leads further beyond the chamber where hidden meetings unfold, past the murals, faded by time, to a branching tunnel neither of you have traveled before. Cassius traces the markings near the entrance symbols worn smooth, half erased by the passage of centuries. Old code, he whispers. Before our time, you press onward. The tunnel narrows, walls pressing in, the ceiling dipping low. Yet you move forward, guided by instinct, by the quiet certainty that every step brings you closer to understanding the silent machine operating beneath. Rome's grandeur, you pass hidden alcoves, empty storage rooms, collapsed doorways leading to forgotten corners of the bathhouse's underbelly. Until, at last, the path widens once more, opening into a chamber unlike any you've seen. It is not a meeting place, nor a storage vault. It is a ledger, a room carved from stone, its walls lined with clay tablets, with sealed scrolls stacked in careful rows, with ledgers etched into marble panels. In the center, a single table rests, covered in records, maps, lists of names. You step closer, heart steady, gaze tracing the faded ink in carved lines. Here lies the evidence of everything you've only overheard. Lists of shipments rerouted through southern ports, names of merchants aligned with the silent network, records of bribes paid through temple tithes, of soldiers reassigned by unseen hands, of estates seized and redistributed by quiet decree. Cassius exhales slowly beside you. This is their foundation. And you realize, in that moment, the quiet simplicity of it all. Power, influence, control it, is built on records, on systems, on carefully orchestrated movements, hidden beneath layers of ordinary life. And you, a mere bath attendant, now stand at the heart of it. For a moment, the weight of it threatens to settle upon your shoulders. The knowledge that should this chamber be discovered by the wrong eyes, its contents could spark fires across the Empire factions unraveling, power collapsing, chaos blooming in the void. You close your eyes, steady your breath. Then Cassius steps forward, brushing dust from a particular scroll, his voice low. Look. You join him, eyes scanning the fresh ink upon the parchment. A new ledger, dated mere days ago, detailing movements not only of grain or gold, but of men legions quietly repositioned, generals reassigned without public decree. fortresses supplied beyond their usual quotas. You exchange a glance, understanding dawning between you. This is no mere scheme for wealth or influence. This is preparation not for control within Rome's walls, but for something beyond, for war, for conquest, or for quiet rebellion against powers greater than any single senator or merchant. Your thoughts race. Your heart remains calm, and with quiet efficiency. You and Cassius gather what you can, memorizing names, tracing supply routes, noting key locations. You do not take the documents. Discovery of theft would trigger alarms faster than whispers ever could. But you learn, you absorb. You transform knowledge into quiet armor. When you return to the upper world, to the cooling stones of the bathhouse, to the quiet corridors of your quarters, you do so changed. No longer just observers, no longer just listeners, but holders of knowledge sharp enough to cut through the densest veils of deception. As you sit by your small window once more, watching the moon drift through a cloud-strewn sky, you do not wonder if you should act. You only wonder when. Rome remains unchanged to the inattentive eye. Senators squabble over trivial disputes. Merchants bargain in crowded markets. Soldiers patrol their routes with practiced indifference. Yet beneath it, beneath every grand arch and every quiet alley, the empire trembles softly, quietly, like the first rumble before a distant storm. You and Cassius speak little in the following days, your routine unchanged, your masks secure, but your thoughts sharpen, your observations deepen. Every guess becomes a potential clue, every comment a possible revelation, and always, beneath it all, the heartbeat of the Ember Passage calls to you. You have seen its depths, traced its corridors, uncovered its secrets, and you know this is only the beginning, because in the vast machinery of Rome, even the smallest cog may shift the balance, even the quietest whisper may start a storm, and you, invisible, steady, watchful, stand ready beneath the surface, above suspicion, woven into the very fabric of the empire. Tomorrow awaits, and with it, the next thread of the unfolding tapestry. The marble listens, and you will answer. Morning returns to Rome with the softness of a lullaby, sunlight stretching over tiled roofs and marble facades, creeping gently into narrow alleys and wide-open forums. You awaken in your modest room, the weight of quiet knowledge pressing lightly on your chest. Around you, the city hums with the sounds of normalcy, street vendors shouting, temple bells ringing, a distant rhythmic clatter of hooves over stone. But beneath that familiar melody, you feel it, the invisible tension threading through the air, thin yet constant, like the first plucked string of an unknown song. Your hands move through your morning tasks with their usual care, the crackling of kindling beneath the bathhouse boilers, the soft rustle of linen being folded, the smooth rhythm of bronze basins being polished. Cassius joins you, his presence as steady as ever, his footsteps light, his expressions unreadable. You speak little, yet your glances exchange volumes. The Ember Passage had revealed its veins to you, both its quiet ledgers, its plans inked in shadow, and now, every step in the upper world feels connected to those depths. Every bather entering the grand hall, every senator reclining on the warmed stone, every merchant muttering beneath their breath, all are threads, some bright, some frayed, all leading somewhere beneath the surface. The morning begins, as it always does, with the arrival of the city's lesser officials and common merchants. They arrive in clusters, voices mingling with the steamy air, their concerns small and immediate. You listen anyway, tracing idle gossip for hints, catching fleeting names and rumors that might fill unseen gaps in the puzzle taking shape within your mind. By midday, the bathhouse swells with life. A grain commissioner arrives, robes finer than usual, muttering about delayed shipments and an overburdened port. A centurion follows, his face pinched with frustration, his conversation filled with tales of reassigned patrols and strange orders filtering down from distant command posts. A minor priest complains about temple donations being quietly redirected, a festival shortened and rituals adjusted without explanation. Each comment seems innocent to the untrained ear, but you hear the pattern beneath the shifting of Rome's quiet machinery, its cogs turning behind layers of ritual and governance. Then, as afternoon stretches lazily over the warm stone, A figure enters that halts your routine entirely. He wears no identifying robe, no emblem of senatorial rank or merchant status. His tunic is plain, his sandals dusty from travel. Yet his movements are too controlled, his eyes too sharp. His gaze sweeps the chamber not with curiosity, but with calculation. Cassius notices, too, his polishing slowing as his gaze drifts. The man requests a private bathing chamber. His voice is soft but firm, his coin payment exact and unhesitating. You oblige, leading him through the steam-laced halls, your mind ticking quietly, noting every detail: calloused hands beneath clean sleeves, a slight limp masked by practiced stride, a satchel worn, but meticulously maintained, inside the private chamber. As you fill the heated basin and prepare oils, he speaks not to you, but to the room, his words low, seemingly meant for no one, yet easily caught by your attentive ears. Movements finalized by the eyes. Inland routes secured. Contingency locked in the ember. Southern legions already shifting. Your hands remain steady, your head bowed, but your breath slows. This man is not a merchant, nor a common official. He is one of the Watchers, a courier, or envoy, moving between the hidden network's branches, delivering messages too sensitive for scrolls, carrying decisions too dangerous for ink. When you leave him to his solitude, your steps lead swiftly. To Cassius, a quiet nod is exchanged. The Watchers, it seems, have grown bold, moving through the city's arteries with open confidence, and you stand at the heart of their pace. Evening falls, draping Rome in gold and shadow. The bathhouse empties, patrons returning to their homes and feasts. Cassius and you perform your closing rituals, shuttering the outer doors, damping the final flames, sealing the visible world from the secrets below. Once more, you descend into the ember passage. The air beneath is cooler tonight, the stones damp beneath your sandals, the lamplight casting soft circles along ancient carvings. You navigate with growing ease, your path familiar now, your awareness sharpened. But tonight, you do not return to the record chamber. Tonight, you follow the footsteps of the Watcher. The route is faint, but traceable marks in the dust, the occasional scuff along the stone, the subtle disturbance of settled air. Cassius follows, his lamp held low, his steps muted by experience. The tunnel branches, narrows, rises unexpectedly, before sloping sharply down. You follow, turning left where instinct guides you, turning right where the walls seem cleaner, the passage more worn by recent travel. At last, you reach a chamber, unlike the others. It is smaller, carved with less care, its walls raw but functional. At its center stands a simple table, plain wooden stools, and above it, almops pinned to the stone. Their edges curling with age, but their ink fresh and sharp. Cassius exhales softly. A meeting room, he murmurs. You move closer, eyes scanning. The parchment, the map's detail Rome's grain routes, not just locally, but far beyond 2 provinces along the coast. To the northern frontier, even to outposts near the Danube. Symbols mark key crossroads, storage villas, river checkpoints. Beside them, other maps, military deployments, troop rotations, regions labeled with odd notations. You begin to decipher. It is a war plan, or something close to it, not declared in the Senate nor spoken of in public forums, but traced here in ink and strategy, shaped beneath the city in stolen chambers. You touch one scroll, briefly a ledger of temple funds, redirected through dummy patrons, gold and resources pooled into unknown vaults. Another lists names, merchants, senators, centurions, lined by secret oath or silent coercion. Preparing for a break, Cassius says, voice low but certain. Not an isolated scheme, but a fracture in the making within the Empire's own bones. You trace your finger along the largest map, to the southern ports, noticing annotations of ships, of export diversions, of legions assigned under falsified orders. Then your gaze hardens. A single name, inked recently, attached to a supply route, intersecting the ember passages. Ejon, unfamiliar merchant, scheduled for private audience within the bathhouse tomorrow. You commit it to memory tonight. You realize, You have crossed a threshold. No longer merely an observer, no longer a silent recorder of hidden truths, but a player within the game itself. You douse the lamp, your mind steady, your path clear. The chambers around you whisper their ancient secrets, but you are no longer their captive listener. You are their quiet judge. Back above, the city sleeps unaware, lulled by the glow of braziers and the comfort of routine. Senators draft hollow decrees, merchants count coins stacked atop false ledgers. Soldiers patrol streets oblivious to orders rewritten in the shadows. But you, unseen among them, begin to gather your threads. A name tomorrow, a meeting soon, a confrontation. Inevitable, you and Cassius return to your chambers before dawn's first light. Your steps silent, your expressions unreadable. Around you, Rome stirs lazily, its markets readying for another day, its forums preparing for another round of empty speeches. But beneath it, within it, surrounding it, pressure builds. The empire's surface remains smooth, but the fault lines shift beneath. You lie on your simple cot, your eyes tracing the patterns of light along the ceiling, your thoughts weaving together everything you've seen, everything you've heard. The watchers move in plain sight. The network pulses stronger. The bathhouse remains your shield, your window, your hidden doorway. Tomorrow will bring the merchant with the coded name, and with him, a key to the next gate of this hidden world. And you, quiet and unassuming, sharpen your resolve, for sometimes the gentlest ripples herald the greatest storms, and in the empire of marble and shadow, it is not always the loudest voice that shapes history. Sometimes it is the quietest watcher. Sometimes it is you. The last morning arrives softer than the rest, as though the city itself hesitates, unwilling to wake, unwilling to face the shifting winds pressing against its ancient stones. Rome's skyline glimmers gold, but beneath the rooftops, the air feels heavier, thicker, saturated with quiet expectation. You rise in silence, your body moving through familiar motions, while your thoughts stand elsewhere, watchful, sharpened. Cassius moves beside you, every gesture precise, every breath steady. But you feel it between you, a shared readiness, a quiet coil waiting to spring. The bathhouse stirs with morning life. Common merchants arrive first, their voices bouncing lazily through warm halls. They speak of market prices, of distant cousins, of roof tiles that need replacing. Yet your attention is elsewhere, anchored to the knowledge of who will arrive later. Today, the name inked in the shadows will step through these doors, a merchant by title, but a messenger by duty, moving between factions, invisible to the world above, carrying words that shift grain and gold, that alter garrisons and guards, that ignite unseen fires within quiet corridors. You tend the baths as you always have. You straighten linen, you stir the waters, you light the perfumed oils. You listen without appearing to listen. You observe without drawing eyes. You exist within the marble like the walls themselves, silent, enduring, patient. The first hour passes, then the second. The bathhouse fills with the murmur of Rome's powerful, but your focus sharpens only when you hear it, a quiet exchange at the entrance. A set of footsteps, neither hurried nor idle. A request spoken in the practiced calm of one used to being obeyed. Cassius meets your glance. No words are spoken. You guide the merchant through the steamy halls, your movements flawless, your demeanor humble. His robe is simple, his voice polite, but his eyes belong to someone accustomed to influencing events far beyond the limits of his station. Inside a secluded chamber, you prepare the basin oils, swirling atop the steaming water. The merchant's belongings rest near the marble bench, a satchel carefully set within reach. His gaze follows you, but he sees only the serventa, quiet bath attendant with no questions and no opinions. Yet you listen. His lips move in muttered habit, phrases falling from them without thought. Southern forts reinforced by the solstice, northern governor compromised. New orders reach Alexandria before the next full moon. You do not need scrolls to read this message. It dances through his quiet murmurs, through his casual planning, through the confident rhythm of someone who believes no one listens, where steam curls and water ripples. He finishes without knowing what he has given away. When you leave him to his solitude, You glide down familiar halls, your route planned, your steps assured. CASSIUS meets you by the ember passage door. No more listening, no more observing. Tonight, action takes shape. Night creeps into the city slowly. Fires light along the walls, braziers flicker in courtyards. The grand halls of the Senate glow with empty speeches, their power fraying at the edges. But beneath Rome's marble, you descend, deeper than before, faster than before, guided by the knowledge gathered from whispered names, secret ledgers, and careless tongues. The ember passage welcomes you once more, its silence no longer intimidating, its secrets no longer shrouded. CASSIUS leads through the winding paths, your lamp illuminating marks etched centuries ago, guides once meant for smugglers and deserters, now repurposed by unseen powers. Tonight, you follow the line beyond the meeting chambers, beyond the strategy vaults, to the heart of the machine, the vaulted crossing, a chamber vast and echoing, carved with ancient care, repurposed in recent times, wooden crates stacked in uniform order, amphorae brimming with grain, satchels packed with denarii, swords bundled in oiled cloth, all waiting, all prepared. At its center, a raised platform and a collection of figures, hooded, cloaked, guarded. You listen from shadowed alcoves. Voices murmur of finalized movements, of troops redirected through bribed centurions, of grain stockpiled for lean months, of supply routes cleared of inspection, of legions poised beyond the riverbanks, and then dash confirmation the coming week. A single spark will strike, a governor will fall, a fort will be stormed, a caravan will be ambushed, its guards replaced with loyal shadows, and Rome will not notice, until it is far too late. Cassius breathes evenly beside you. His grip tightens around the dagger hidden beneath his robes, but you raise a hand. Patience, precision. You retreat, unseen, unheard. By midnight, you emerge within the walls of a quiet insula near the city's heart. A humble dwelling, marked only by a small painted tile above the door. Inside waits an old man, his back curved by years, his hands stained by ink. He listens without interruption as you recount what you've seen, as you trace the strategy written beneath the empire's calm facade. The man smiles not in joy, but in grim understanding. He moves slowly, yet with certainty, pulling forth a single scroll bearing the Senate's seal, untouched, unbroken. It will not remain so for long. You leave before the first bells of dawn sound above. The Senate will awaken. 2 words, traced by unknown hands. Decrees will ripple through military halls, summoning men before tribunals. Grain stockpiles will be inspected beneath imperial banners. Bribes once buried will surface in the cold light of marble courts, and watchers once silent will vanish into the riverside mist. You and Cassius return to the bathhouse as dawn begins to claim the city. Your steps light, your hearts steady. The steam rises, the fires crackle, the stone warms beneath your feet. Senators arrive with hollow boasts, merchants with petty complaints, soldiers with weary muscles. Rome resumes its song of routine, but beneath it all, gears shift, not in favor of those who plotted beneath the marble, but in favor of the city itself, in favor of balance restored. CASSIUS meets your glance as you polish a brass basin, his mouth twitching into the faintest smile. We have become the Watchers, he whispers. You nod once, returning to your work, because beneath Rome's towering arches, it is not always banners and armies that shape destiny. Sometimes it is silence, sometimes it is patience, and sometimes it is 2 quiet attendants moving unseen, hearing what should remain hidden, ensuring the marble cracks only where justice demands it. And now, as the city hums, as the bathhouse fills, as Rome forgets how closely it teetered on the edge of chaos, you remain steady, listening, watching, waiting for the empire. In all its grandeur, will always carry its shadows, and within them, you will endure. Calm, unseen, a quiet guardian of balance.